All right, good evening. What's up, guys? Quick sound check. Excuse me. Mexico City. Sound is good. Nice, nice. Thank you, thank you. Sweet. Well, how'd everybody enjoy the volatility today? A nice I don't know, casual 1200 point move in the Nasdaq. I think this might be the honestly, I think this might be the biggest Nasdaq move point wise I think that I've ever seen. Like we've had some pretty decent days. Like October 10th was 1,000 points. Oh, I guess we did have some moves back in. Yeah, we had some moves back in April. Total range was 2,184 points. Range was 1,300 points. So it's been a while. I kind of forgot about those. Yeah, it's been a bit since we've had a range this big. You're short GC right now. Let me take a look. I don't really know if I like the whole short GC idea, to be honest with you. Up over 4130s. This thing has a lot of room still left to go. We never went and got those 4252s. These 4252s way over here. I think these are going to be important. We almost did last week. So yeah, if we can get through this 4130-60s, I think we've got some pretty decent room to 4252s. In the short term, I kind of agree though. It's relatively weak. Yeah, talk about level to level moves. Yeah, we had a pretty significant move today. The question, like this is the thing, and so the reason I wanted to jump on, in addition to giving away some accounts, was just kind of like talk about this market and where we're currently at and all that. So if we take a look, even just looking at like a daily chart here, we can pull up the SPY. I should probably have less levels on there than I do on the S&Ps here. I mean, we've had a pretty significant move, out of these lows, right? Like from 480s to 680s. That's a pretty large move, right? So just using kind of basic math, if we were to come, 50% of that move, that could take us all the way back down here towards like 600s, right? And if you look on a daily chart, not that I've necessarily subscribed to the whole, all gaps have to fill, because there's a gap down here, there's a gap over here. So, and if that's to be the case, then, essentially we come all the way back down to like $530, right? Which I don't necessarily think that's going to be the case here. But somewhere down here into, potentially like 610s, 620s, I think we have some potential to maybe be able to get there. So I don't know that we'll see more days kind of with the same amount of range as what we saw today. I mean, we essentially set the range for the week today. 23 points out of the SPY would be 230 points here in the S&Ps. So we've set a pretty decent little range, and I think we made a pretty bold statement as that this market isn't as strong as it was throughout the course of this rally. Like when we look at a weekly chart here, and it's like, okay, cool, we do get, a weekly red bar. We do get a weekly red bar in here. We get a couple weekly red bars, but we still kind of pushed higher through here. And then, okay, cool, we get a weekly red bar in through here, and then like we continue to push higher. So we haven't had 4 weekly red candles in a row, specifically like this, from back here. Like the last time we had it was back here in like February, right? Which led to this nice drop, kind of into April there. So I think we're in for some more of that type of action. And the real question becomes, specifically for like tomorrow, is Do we look to play this for continuation to the downside? This was the question I asked in the Discord. You know, do we look to play this for continuation to the downside and maybe try and get this down into 648s, which is not all that far away. It's like another 60 points in the S&Ps, right? You know, do we look to make that move lower, or does this need some type of time to consolidate and just essentially digest the move in which we saw today, right? Because it's a rather large move. So yeah, that's going to be the question in which I'm asking here. Let me turn that back off. Actually, we can leave that on. But yeah, it's a massive move. We took out some pretty important levels as well on the way down. He said, "What did you do to my calls from this morning?" Yeah, those got wrecked. Sorry about that. So question is, we'll do a giveaway here in just a minute, and then if you guys want to throw some tickers in there, throw some questions in there and stuff like that, and we'll just do kind of a mixture. Like we'll start up a giveaway, and then we'll answer some questions, look at some charts, give some ideas, whatever, and then do another giveaway and rinse and repeat, and kind of see where it goes for tonight. But you say, am I wrong to think if Nvidia gains was held up the aftermarket open, that would set the tone for the technology sector? Yeah, so I mean, we had a pretty decent move, overnight in Nvidia here, right? And we got up into highs 198.60s here. We kind of based out, ended up opening right in and around 196s here, and they managed to get a pretty decent, obviously flush with everything else here, closing down 3.15% on the day. So to say that if this would have held, that everything else would have been fine, I don't, in my opinion, I don't think that Nvidia is the reason for the move today, right? Like, so Nvidia quite possibly could have held, and I'm sure there's a couple names that did ultimately hold today. Like if we go take a look, Walmart, for example, Walmart was bright green today, right? So there's a difference here specifically on there's a difference here specifically on the daily chart compared Nvidia to Walmart, right? When we look at Nvidia from a daily chart perspective, which I'm not necessarily going to show, there's a couple other things in which it didn't have that Walmart did have. So while yes, they both did have earnings, I would assume that both earnings are good. I don't necessarily know. I don't really look to see. The price essentially tells me what I need to know. But at the moment, Walmart has some really good strength. And in something like this, I'm actually super down to potentially long Walmart tomorrow, right? If we get a pullback into 106.56s, there's one of two things that I think ultimately ends up kind of happening with this Walmart chart, right? And we'll go take a look at the daily chart just to see it. Is one of two things I think ultimately happens. One, we get continuation here, second day earnings moves, which are some of my favorite trades. This is, in all honesty, this is probably one of the best looking earnings trades that we've seen this whole entire season, which is kind of crazy that it's Walmart. And it's also kind of crazy that it happens on a day where NASDAQ gets, absolutely mollywopped to the downside by 1,200 points. So I think that gives it in and of itself even that much more credibility here. So one of two things. One, we open above 106.56s. We test that tomorrow. We get a second day earnings move to the upside, and it probably goes up in towards 110s or even maybe a little bit more, right? It's options expiration week, so there's a lot of open interest at those 110s. 20,847 contracts sitting currently open interest at 110s. So I could certainly see that making the push Kind of up there towards 110s and getting new highs tomorrow, right? The other thing in which I could see option number 2 would be that we put in a small red bar here tomorrow, right? Maybe we gap up to 107s and change, and then kind of a small red bar that basically holds 106-ish, give or take, right? And then from there we end up going higher on Monday, right? If market ends up being too unbelievably weak tomorrow and we do get continuation to the downside, then I could see a 1, 2, 3 kind of developing in here for going into next week. And that would also be super fun because at some point market is going to get a bounce, and those short cover rally bounces are honestly some of like my favorite rallies just because of the speed in which we get a massive move to the upside. And in this type of move, like this type of range, we could see, a nice 300, 400, 500 point rally in like 30, 40 minutes. You know what I mean? In NASDAQ. So we do have some lower levels that I think we can come down here and test first, which is why I'm open to continuation of the downside tomorrow. But if that ends up happening, we hit those, and then something like a Walmart, for example, has that 1, 2, 3 going into the next week, then I think it makes for a really, really nice trade. So, and I haven't said that about really any individual names lately. So Walmart is on the list for tomorrow, oddly enough. But yeah, let's fire up a giveaway here and get you guys entered in, and then we'll throw out some tickers, throw out some questions and all that. I see Zach mentioning, is it going to be like a mastermind class? No, we're going to try and keep it to about an hour and just give away some accounts, talk a little bit, and have some fun. So I don't know if I did make a cup of coffee. I don't know that I have I guess I probably have 3 hours in me, but all right, let's fire this up. We are going to, yeah, no tea. I did coffee. All right, let's see. Timer duration. Let's just do 10 minutes on this first one. All right. You drinking coffee too? That's a nice night for a cup of coffee. It's like, honestly, the weather outside right now is pretty much perfect. It's 58 degrees. There's like pretty much no breeze. It's honestly perfect. All right, so I just went ahead and dropped that in the chat. So go ahead and exclamation raffle in the chat here, and then I'll get you guys entered to win. Derivator, I'm gonna take your I'll take your chances out. How do we cancel? Can we cancel people? I don't actually know. I'm just kidding, but you got to be nerfed, my friend. Shadow coming in with the Ponzi's. What you been up to, Shadow? I feel like I should send you a collab cam link and we'll get you on a live. You want to do that? That was something that that's something Osborne and I actually kind of tossed around, is maybe throwing out and bringing a couple people on, and like you can literally get your face on the screen and we can just kind of chat it up, pull up charts, whatever the case is, and just have a conversation. Is that something that you guys would be down for? If anybody wants to jump on stage, so to speak. You want to jump on, Zach? We'll set it up. He said camera shy. Hey, I got a face built for radio too, so it's all good. We just make it work. Actually, I have no idea what you look like, Shadow. I'm curious. He's gonna send me a DM with a Shadow looks like a Chad. I would honestly be kind of disappointed if you're not just like brolic. Like low key, if you're like 130 pounds, I'd be a little disappointed. I'm not gonna lie. 210, 6'3". All right. No, brolic. Brolic's just like built, like big. Just deadlifting Honda Civics in the parking lot. I'm actually gonna go get the beard trimmed up tomorrow. It's getting fairly lengthy there. All right, let's see. We got 43 people entered. There's 5 minutes and 50 seconds left to go on this one. So yeah, keep running it up! Exclamation raffle in the chat. That'll get you guys that. But go ahead and drop some symbols in there. Drop some questions you guys might have. We'll take a look here while we got the charts pulled up. Let's kind of see what we got going for tomorrow. Tesla. Yeah, let's take a look at Tesla. Tesla here. So I was up until essentially today, I was starting to get a little bit interested to the long side in Tesla. And I'm kind of conflicted now. The weekly chart definitely says that we have the potential to get back down in towards 360s there. I do think that is, potentially on the table. Like the levels in which we have to work with at the moment is essentially either all the way back down here towards 360s, or realistically, at this point now, anything kind of back up over like 427s here, we're pretty much open to all-time highs. Like I think that would be a pretty significant swing. That if we are able to take that out, then we could see a nice move to essentially $500. So I initially had kind of the thought process that we saw some decent action Monday, right? If we look at this, we had a pretty decent little rally here first thing Monday, and I was kind of still watching, overall just like this 420, 425 area. If we take a look at that, that's kind of where we had pulled back to. We had held a couple different times. We've been in and around this area for a minute. And we were trying to push it on Monday here, and then essentially Tuesday, Wednesday, Tesla was just absolute garbage, and it couldn't get any continuation there. And then today we did start to get some continuation, which I thought was a good thing, up until the point to where we got smoked by like 40 points to the downside there. So yeah, in the event that we can get back up through 427s, I would say it has some interest to the long side. Otherwise, at this point, I think you got to just try and let it figure itself out or make the move down into 360s. I think there's probably better shorts on the table at the moment than Tesla if you were looking to try and find some shorts. But so at the moment, I would just kind of say it's a hold to maybe slightly lower if it does want to go get 360s, meaning hold off. Yeah, you see room to 360s. Yeah, I agree with that. MSTR, little micro strategies. I was talking with someone about this actually today. To be honest, I think at this point, if you're trading MicroStrategy, you're essentially just trading Bitcoin, like in my opinion. So we looked it up. They're holding like 650,000 Bitcoin or something outrageous. There's like 649,870 Bitcoins or some shit. Valued at about 60 billion, I think is what the number said. But obviously that at 86,000, 87,000, that's probably not the case. So I think when we look at something like Bitcoin and MicroStrategy, if we just take a look at this weekly chart here, I mean, realistically, we've had about a 50,000 point move off of highs from 127 to, call it 87s here. So we've had a pretty decent move. And when you look at that and then you look at MSTR, it's like, okay, yeah, we've gone from 450 to 177s. So that's obviously a lot greater. Like Bitcoin hasn't necessarily been cut in half. This has been cut by more than half at this point. And yeah, it is getting extended to the downside, but realistically, it probably has room towards, 120 bucks or so, right? If it really wants to. And I guess depending on what ends up happening with Bitcoin, right, would dictate as to how low this thing potentially goes. I'm kind of the belief here, and a lot of people aren't necessarily going to like this. I kind of think Bitcoin goes to about 62,000. So at the moment, I'm not bullish by any means on the crypto market in general. I think this low down in here, right around 74,000 or so, I think this low is actually going to get swept. And then we make a pretty decent little plunge down towards like 62s. And then from there, I think we may have a conversation as to like, okay, let's see if this can kind of find a bit of a bottom here or not. But realistically, if that doesn't hold, I think there's room to like 42s. So if you're looking to kind of start averaging into Bitcoin or something like that, I think we have some lower price targets to hit just yet before anything happens there. In that, you said late next year in 2027 we go to zero. You're a Bitcoin bear now? No love for the Bitcoin? Oh, now you're saying buy the blood until ETH hits 10K? I mean, listen, ETH at 10K. By zero, you mean 22 to 24. I think we have a good shot at if 42s trade. I think that's a pretty significant area. But I mean, in terms of like ETH, right? Like we can only pull up the futures here. And I don't really know if it's just because I can't pull it up at the moment, but I don't know if we took out that high from the like back in. I think we did. I think we took out the highs from back in like 2021s, 2022s, whenever those highs got set in Ethereum. So I don't know. I don't love this either. I think 2300s, give or take, maybe even a little bit lower than that, is probably where we're headed. So I mean, it's a 50% haircut from highs, essentially. Call highs at 5,000. I think that's well within reason. Another 500-ish points from here before we see any kind of significant bounce. ETH's a strong buy. That's potential. Show you ETH at 10K, you quit your job. I'll be joining some longs at like 22, 2300, I think. I'll pull up that trading view and and take a look at that. I bought a bunch back in, I want to say that was November of 20 or November of 2021, that I've been just chilling on. Said no in between Ponzi consultations. Nice. All right, let's go ahead and pick a winner here. Total of 47 entries. Shadow was the third contestant to enter to win. Let's go ahead and pick a winner. Sweet. Miguel Mendez. You still in the chat? Shoot me a message if you are still in the chat. Congrats to Miguel. He said he don't want it. No, I don't think that's him. We'll give him a couple minutes to drop a message in there. Hopefully he's still in here. I feel like you got to be present to win, though, right? Like, it wouldn't necessarily be right if you dipped out. What's up, Snipe? Let's see. Someone dropped in LLY. I did want to take a look at that. We'll wait. We'll give Miguel a couple minutes here. Did you miss your entry? No, I'm going to do more. Yeah, I'm going to do more. So if you didn't win this time, we'll just hang out and still talk some markets, and then I'll give away some more. He said red day today. I didn't think you had those. I try not to. It's never my goal to have a red day. I think being down $29 though, I can handle that. So I set up the same accounts on which I'm giving away this evening. I went ahead and set one up. I just did the 150K, and that's the one I've been sharing on my stories and stuff for this month so far. And I think I'm up like 35 or 3,800 bucks in that account. And I'm just doing like, my goal is just like slowly grow it, show the progress, and essentially just what the trades are that I'm taking, all of those things, and then just kind of pull a payout there, treat it like normal, and just kind of run it up. Not treat it as like a small account challenge type of thing, but just like more of what I think how you should be trading funded accounts, not necessarily just complete YOLOing or full degen kind of type stuff. Although I do think there is a place for that. So, and I may or may not have a video coming out on kind of a couple different ways I think to trade props and all of that as well. So I should look into Lucid. So I actually got approved today. I chatted with them, and code MLT on Lucid is valid right now, and hopefully we're going to do some giveaways with them as well. They got a pretty rapid payout structure, and Fareed, I think, took a payout from them today and got it within like 2 minutes. So I haven't done a small account challenge on video. No, I mean, the thought process on those, like, I mean, I think the props are kind of like the new small account challenge, if you will. And I think there's a little bit more validity to those, just from the standpoint of you can add a couple different accounts and link them all together and get a little bit more risk tolerance that way. And I think that's the way in which to do it. So yeah, no, I haven't done a small account challenge. I did run up my Robinhood account like the first half of this year was kind of nuts. It's just one that I keep like I throw some money in there and I keep it super small, but it's for like YOLO type stuff. And that worked really, really, really well the first half of this year. And then I've kind of left it alone outside of a couple trades here and there throughout the rest of the year. Like I said, this has been the slowest kind of season for me in terms of individual names, and I'm not seeing Miguel chatting in the thing, so we might just go ahead and pick another winner. I don't know if we need to like put a time limit on how long homeboy has to respond, but yeah, so it's been the slowest for me in a number of years, probably from an individual equity standpoint. So, which I'm okay with. I mean, it is what it is. 2 minutes. All right, we'll give him 2 minutes. Hey, Google, set a timer for 2 minutes. Miguel Mendez, you got 2 minutes, my dog. Let me see if I can tag him. Oh, he's actually in here. Let me see. He said, rest in peace, Miguel. That's funny. We'll give him his 2 minutes and see. If he does follow up after that, I'll hook him up with something else. But then I'll pick another winner from that first batch, and then we'll run it back again. See what happens. I'm waiting on you. All right. Oh, you heard once you pass, they move you to PA within 10 minutes. You can trade the same day as you pass in the pro accounts? Hold up. So you can pass the pro account, basically get moved live, and trade in the same day? Is that what I'm hearing? Oh, that's pretty sweet. I like that. I wish Apex did that, honestly. That would be pretty fire, actually. Just batch out quick 20 of them, get funded, and then YOLO it. Lucid, your favorite? Okay. Like I said, I just talked with them today, so we'll probably be doing more with them. Alpha Future second. I've seen them around before. I haven't done anything with them though. Take Profit Trader I like too. They're a little bit harder. All right, Miguel, you out of luck. We'll pick another one. David Broom, you in Mexico City? Take Profit's been around for a while too. Yo, let's go, David. Congrats, my guy. Congrats. Shoot me, yeah. I was just about to tell you. Shoot me a DM on Discord, and I'll get you set up from there. Good work, my guy. Good work. All right, shoot me that, and let's run it back and do it again. Start giveaway. All right, sweet. Go ahead. Exclamation raffle in the chat. By the way, if you did win, so in this case, David, don't enter again, please. Just for you already won. And if it does win, if you do happen to win again and it's rigged like when Derivator did it, then I'm not going to give it to you. So you're going to be out of luck either way. But I appreciate you. I do. He said, let Snipe win. He'll run it up. Hey, only if you split it with me. You gotta give 10% to the big guy. See, I probably shouldn't go down that route because See, I knew you'd get the reference. I knew somebody would get the reference. All right, let's take a look at Lily here. But yeah, y'all go ahead and run up exclamation raffle in the chat. And then we'll take a look at Lily here. Drop some questions, things like that in the chat for me. Or any tickers here. In terms of Lily, I'm honestly kind of impressed with this one. We've been sitting here looking at the same chart for a while. This move just, there's nothing you can really say about it, right? It's just, it's moving. The tough part is like, where does it go, right? Like we're at 1,043 at this point. You know, we had a pretty decent gap down on earnings back over in here, you know, to 670s, traded 650s and change down here. And then we've essentially, I mean, damn near almost doubled, you know, almost up to 1100s at this point. So it's had an impressive rally. At some point, ideally we get pullbacks here to like 965s to 925s. You know, and if we can do that, then I think there's something to work with there. But I mean, even when you take this thing into consideration today, you know, I mean, it's down $6 on the day, 0.60%. Like, the market got absolutely slaughtered, and this thing somehow managed to hold up pretty well. So I wouldn't necessarily be interested in shorting it. You know, at this point, even though it could probably need a pullback. But yeah, I think you just got to wait for that pullback if you don't already have a position. If you have a position, I mean, I would look to either probably take some off, maybe try and trail it up a little bit here if it wants to continue to run. And if you are long, then obviously congrats to you, because that's that's a hell of a move to catch. But yeah, that's it's tough. It's going to be tough to continue to long it, I think, at this point. All right, what else you guys got? Everybody, exclamation raffle in the chat, and then drop me any questions or tickers you want me to take a look at as well. We'll see if we can get anything moving here. ABBV. Yeah, I think you mentioned that, right? ABBV. I feel like it's an easy one for me to stutter out on. I don't mind the weekly in there. I kind of like that idea. If that's the idea that you're thinking, maybe a little weekly 1, 2, 3 kind of idea to the upside, let it kind of get up through 236, give or take, and see what it wants to do from there. I don't think that's a bad idea. Let's see, UNH here. We might just go like a little rapid fire on some of them. UNH, I'm not quite sure what to make of this thing. I mean, overall, it's kind of gotten smoked. It tried to rally it back pretty decently. You know, we went from 230s up here to like 366s. That's a 50% move. It's a pretty decent move, but I think we've kind of lost that, right? We cracked kind of back under this, you know, 330, 340-ish area. We tried to test it once so far. You can see that like topping tail in there. Zoom in on this a little bit right there. So I would venture to say that this probably continues to go lower at this point. Slightly concerning from that standpoint that it, you know, if you were short it today, it was actually green, up, you know, 0.79% today. But yeah, overall, I would not want to be long this at the moment. There is the potential that maybe we're going to hold off like 306 area here. But until market found a bottom, I don't necessarily know that I would be looking to kind of add this to the long-term portfolio or not, at the moment at least. Let's see. Hood, PLTR. Hood, I think it needs a pullback. I mean, realistically, this thing went super far, super fast. And if you look at something, you know, if you look at Hood, and then you kind of compare that to, you know, like another brokerage firm, like a Charles Schwab, for example, And it's like, yeah, we had a pretty decent move. You know, it went from, you know, $70 to $100, but like it didn't go from freaking $30 to $150, right? So I don't know. I think it got a little too inflated, a little too fast. And at this point, I think it could use a pullback here. And realistically, I think that's probably down towards this, you know, realistically somewhere under $95. And then from there, I think it's just a matter of, you know, letting it catch up to that daily 200 down in there, maybe find some balance. Could it get cut in half and maybe make its way back down towards like 75? Yeah, I'd be a little bit more interested down here somewhere around $75 from like a longer term play. I think that's got a little bit more interest into it. So yeah, just do exclamation raffle again. You can only enter one time, but you can technically type it in, I think, more than once just to make sure. There's a total right now of 44 people entered, so there's a couple of y'all at least listening that have not entered for some reason, outside of David. He said, trade like Snipe, you're the man. Let's see. 239s, yay, talking ABBV. INTU. Oh, you also had PLTR on this list too, right? Hood. I think PLTR is kind of the same thing. Hey, there's Miguel. Miguel, you're back. We were looking for you. We were looking for you. He does. He does indeed. Are you in the Discord, Miguel? But yeah, PLTR kind of same thing. I think this thing goes back to like $100. I think it gets cut in half. Y'all got a minute and 30 seconds, by the way. Oh, sweet. Shoot me a DM. You missed it the first time around. We were kind of waiting on you. You won the first one. No, you don't lose yours. I'll hook them up. I'll hook them up. Let's see. Someone's been asking about INTU. INTU. This thing has gone into it. It looks like it had earnings here potentially after the bell. Oh, you're thinking about the gap tomorrow. That's essentially what you're looking for, right? 657s. I see the idea. I see the thought process. I don't love it. I wish it was doing more. Like if it was gapping to like, I don't know, 680s, then I think there's a little bit more interest in there. There was a $40 expected move, which would have been 637 plus, you know, $40 would put us right at about 680s. Then I think that it's more interesting to want to do something with. At 657s, we're barely getting above I mean, we're getting above the open from today, but we're not even getting above the bar from today. So yeah, I would let that move first before messing around with it. Cocoa futures. What is even... I've seen you spam this like 3 times now, so I'm going to have to look. Cocoa futures /CC. No, there's no thing. Well, I don't... It says /CC, but it doesn't come up. What's it trade on? It's CME, right? Or is it ICE? It might be ICE. Yeah, it's on ICE. It probably doesn't. We probably don't have data. Thinkorswim probably doesn't give the data for it. What does it do? Like 8,000 contracts a day? Like, does it actually trade? Send me a screenshot of it in the chat, and I'll take a look at it. Yeah, I figured it was ice. All right, let's take a look here. We'll give an account away here. Go ahead and pick a winner. Ryan Sisson. Ryan Sisson, are you in the chat? We gotta set a timer, right? We'll give like 4 minutes this time. Set a timer for 4 minutes. Well, shit. I see you. No. Paste it in the chat to me on Discord, and I'll pull it up. Sweet. Congrats to Ryan. 50K straight to funded. I also feel like today is a good day to give them away because, like, I'm sure, and I'm not necessarily calling anybody out in the chat, but I'm sure some people probably blew some funded accounts today, just given the move in which we had. So you'll at least have a free straight to funded to kind of like go degen mode on tomorrow if you really want to. So, you know, why not? Shit, it has been an hour. All right, cool. Ryan, shoot me a DM on Discord or on Instagram if you're not in the Discord. I need you to keep me accountable, Zach. I wasn't even looking at the clock. All right, we're doing another one. Exclamation raffle. All right, sweet. Exclamation raffle to get entered. And let's take a look at some more. We gotta stick to the 10-minute timeline here. Have I ever tried Tradeify? Yeah. Tradeify is great. Code MLT. Should be a link in the description down below for both Apex and Tradeify. Also, I probably should have at this point already dropped a link here for you guys. The accounts in which I'm giving away tonight are all coming from Top 1 Futures, so probably a bad time to drop that into the chat, but let me see. There we go. Yeah, so if you guys haven't checked them out, feel free to check them out. And if you do win, you'll obviously have to set up an account with them anyway, so might as well do it already. Yeah, I was hopeful at an hour, but I don't think it's going to end up working out like that. But hey, it is what it is. All right, let me see. Shadow dropped me a... Okay. So what do you think? What do you think on that, Shadow? You thinking lower? Like it gets wrecked? That's a pretty bearish looking trend now. A little failed breakout there up there, those highs. All right, I can see that. I wouldn't be opposed to that. I wouldn't be opposed to it. All right, exclamation raffle in the chat to get entered. And then let's see, throw some more tickers at me. All I see is exclamation raffles. Trying to read through this is about to give me a seizure over here. Back to 3K on the Coca. Lulu. Yeah, let's take a look at Lulu. Love the leggings. Love the Lulu leggings. It's in the right spot. I mean, 156-ish, give or take. I mean, if it can manage to hold here, it didn't really move today. I mean, it was down 0.83% here. Looks like it's got earnings coming up in about 2 weeks, 12/11 after market. The best case scenario we could hope for, one of two things from an earnings perspective in Lulu. One, big gap down and it does something like this from back over in here, which technically that lined up with the whole 2020 situation. So yeah, it was actually a little bit before that. But yeah, I mean, best case scenario is we get a big gap down, something like that to get down in towards that 138 give or take area. If not, it holds this 156 area, and we get a big gap up. And if we get a big gap up, then we can flip the trend and kind of start working back to the upside. I think that's the only two options for it. It either needs a big gap to the downside to find that bottom, and it has to reverse like that day, because if it gets continuation of the downside, I think it's probably got a lot lower in it, or it needs, like I said, a pretty decent gap to the upside and trying to start to work back up in towards 225s or so, and maybe a little bit more from there. Let's see, Lulu, RTY. Yeah, so the Russell here, we literally just broke out of this range and kind of put in those new all-time highs a couple weeks ago. So I think there's a lot of room in here that we can probably pull back. Realistically, if it wants to, I think we've got room kind of down here towards 2200s or so. So there's like another 120 points to go, which isn't necessarily all that far. I mean, we had a 104-point range today, so certainly possible. I think the play in there tomorrow is going to be to see if we can get a little bit of a gap up. If this after hours move continues to kind of push for us a little bit, if we can get a little gap up, set a divergence, and this is basically the same trade across the board: S&P's, Nasdaq, Russell, and Dow. Set a little bit of a divergence, and then from there fail it and take us lower to kind of finish out that continuation on a Friday. I think that's the best case scenario for us going into tomorrow on the indices as a whole. That would be what I would like to see. Y'all got 4 minutes, by the way. Exclamation raffle in the chat. Let's see, CBRL. Damn. Cracker Barrel got rocked. I love me some Cracker Barrel, but yikes. I mean, at this point, if it doesn't hold here, it's pretty much like 16 bucks. Like, there's really nothing else. They were trying to switch up the whole look and feel and all that. It definitely backfired, but they immediately reversed that. So I don't know. You see something like this, and it's like, maybe we look at like DRI, which is Darden Restaurants. Was it Shake for Shake Shack? CMG. Oh, CMG is actually fairly ugly. I had Chipotle today. I had the fattest Chipotle bowl I have ever had in my entire life. Homeboy gave me 2 scoops of chicken, like 2 full scoops of chicken, and 2 full scoops of steak. And it was somehow, I got 2 bowls, double meat on both, plus chips, 2 bags of chips, plus a big thing of salsa, and it was only $31. That's like the cheapest I've ever gotten out of Chipotle in my life before. I mean, it was legitimately the fattest bowl I've ever had in my entire life. Delicious, but yeah, cut in half here. I don't know. Seems like it seems like restaurant space is a little bit challenged at the moment. CBRL. If you're looking for long-term plays, I mean, it does pay a dividend of about $1 a year, 25 cents a quarter. So it's not terrible from that perspective. Y'all got 2 minutes, by the way, on exclamation raffle in the chat. So yeah, if you're looking for a long-term play, it's starting to get a little bit more volume here the last few days. It's an okay spot. It's probably a better spot at like 16, 17. And yeah, that's an unfortunate fall. I'm just looking at this daily chart. It's just a steady decline. Pretty much straight from 46 bucks all the way down. Yeah, that one's tough. You gotta have a long-term outlook on that one if you're in it. I don't know if there's an ETF for restaurants or not. Someone might know that answer. Restaurant sector ETF. Let me see. Food and beverage. Consumer staples, essentially, right? Eats, EATZ, is what it's saying. Yeah, this looks. Oh, this is thin. Never mind. Take that back. Take that back. No, that's communication. I haven't looked at those in a long time. Consumer staples ETF. XLP. XLP. Yeah, there's a consumer staples. That actually doesn't look terrible. I mean, that doesn't look too bad, honestly. I mean, it doesn't, I take that back. It doesn't look as bad as like Chipotle, Cracker Barrel, all that. Your friend who owns a restaurant tells you business is slowing. Same thing Chipotle is citing. Interesting. You would think, honestly, we'll go ahead and go over and pick this winner. 39 entries. What'd I skip? Zol? Oh, you didn't get in? That's unfortunate. I am sorry for that. I am sorry for that. All right, let's go. Brian Garcia. Congrats, my guy. Brian Garcia. Let me see if you're in the chat. Let me know if you're in the chat. Oh, we got to set a timer. 4 minutes. Set a timer for 4 minutes. Are you son of a bitch? All right, congrats, my guy. Congrats. Hit me up in Discord. Hit me up in Discord. I'll get you set up. All right, so we got David, we got Ryan, we got Brian. We did have Miguel. Those are some straight up white names though. David, Ryan, and Brian. We gotta mix it up a little bit. I don't know how we do that, but congrats to you, by the way. Exclamation raffle, new one started off in the chat there. You want a raffle to fund your real account? Yeah, I mean, I think that's part of the process for the prop firms in a whole, as a whole, right? Is using them to pull some payouts and get some cash and fund your own accounts. Ryan dropped in Netflix. Yeah, let's take a look at Netflix here. Netflix had the split. So we did the 10-for-1 split this past week, and I gotta be honest, I don't love that. I don't like when they do the splits. It's just not my favorite thing. Lindsay said we need more women in the chat. Well, tell a friend, girlfriend. Tell them where they should be. I think Jill was in here earlier. I don't know if she still is. She won earlier today, as a matter of fact, actually. Um, was it announced that TQQ was going to split? I don't know, honestly. That's the thing. I mean, I have about 25 names, give or take, that I religiously watch. And then just the main, S&P, Nasdaq, Russell, Dow, gold, silver, that type of stuff. Like other than that, like unless there's something that has a major earnings move that ends up getting on my radar, um, it doesn't make sense to me, at least personally, to trade like the leveraged, SQQ or TQQ or any of that kind of stuff. Um, I would just much rather just either trade the futures or trade some zero DTE options, to be honest, right? Um, that's going to give the most bang for the buck, I think. No, I don't only trade futures. I have only traded futures outside of a handful of individual equity positions over the past couple of months, basically, though. This was my least favorite earnings season of a long while. It's been a very different earnings season than I would have preferred. All right, but yeah, Netflix. Um, I think Netflix pulls back. It 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 did the whole thing, kind of ran too far, too fast type of approach again, and then it essentially went sideways for a good while. I mean, we peaked here in June, and it's basically gone sideways, up until earnings back here in October, and then we got the gap down. Let me pull up the daily so you guys can see that. We got the gap down right here on earnings. We went sideways. We got the announcement for the split and kind of all that stuff. Kind of pushed us back up through those highs just a little bit, right there at about 115, which would have been 1150. And then so far now, it's just been kind of working its way to the downside. So I think it's got some room to pull back. And in the meantime, that's where I think it's probably headed to. To be fair, it's had a really nice move. Like from the COVID lows, which is even further back from here, right? Like it's had a pretty decent rally. When we look at this, it didn't actually end up bottoming in the COVID lows. It ended up bottoming here in 2022. So we moved on from $16 to 130s. Like what more can you ask of it? You know what I mean? So yeah, I think a conservative pullback in here at this point, somewhere down into the 90s, and then from there just look to see what it can do. I don't think there's any rush to get into any kind of long positions in there. Let's take a look. What are contract costs for micros, and where do y'all trade self-funded? So, I mean, you can trade self-funded through Trade of 8. You can trade self-funded through Thinkorswim if you really want to. I don't necessarily recommend that. The margins are, I shouldn't say extremely high. The margins are more expensive on Thinkorswim, Charles Schwab than they're going to be pretty much anywhere else. You can also go to TradeStation. TradeStation's got a pretty solid overall platform. It's second for me. Thinkorswim's obviously top. That's going to probably stay that way. And then TradeStation's next in terms of a platform. So, and then there's all sorts of like smaller futures only brokers. Like there's Infinity. There used to be Stage 5. There's a ton. There's a ton up in Chicago. I wouldn't use TOS personally for futures for a smaller account, personal funds type thing. If you have larger accounts with Toss, it doesn't necessarily matter. But I would look either into Trade-O-Vate Ninja, which is Ninja now owns essentially all that. And then, oh, you talking about the invite for the Discord? There should be a link in the description below or the link in my bio. Actually, I'll tell you what, here, let me do this. I'll pull up a link for anybody that wants to get in the Discord, just in the free section. You can join the free section, obviously, for free. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go now. All right, see if that works. That should get you guys into the free Discord. Yeah, and futures as well. Like I said, there's a ton of them. I used Infinity a lot back in the day. I used Infinity quite a bit. They had the best. I could negotiate the best with them. My guy Patrick Zielbauer was there. I mean, but we're talking like this was like 2017, 2018, 2016, like that era. For me, they were great. They had the best. They had honestly the best trading platform outside of Ninja in the future space that I've ever seen. But then he left. I think he might have gone to Stage 5 or somewhere, and yeah, it just wasn't quite the same. So y'all got 2 minutes, by the way! Exclamation raffle. Yeah, smash that like. Appreciate that. Snipe. Let me go back here and see what I missed. Oracle. Yeah, we can take a look at Oracle. Yeah, pretty solid move to the downside in there. Again, too far, too fast. It's going to be in the right spot here soon, like 205, give or take. I mean, we're kind of there now. So I think that's a pretty good spot. The daily 200 is right in this area as well. So again, I think we're going to need the markets. So let this thing kind of have a little bit of time right down in this area. Maybe it goes to 200 for OPEX and just gets that out of its system here this week. And then we, from there, can maybe start working back into an uptrend. But I would look for this area somewhere down in here, 205s, 200s, et cetera, to kind of hold for Oracle. Again, as long as market does find a bottom, right? That's going to be the big factor for a lot of these names. Y'all got 40 seconds to go, by the way. Exclamation raffle. All right, sweet. What else you guys got me? What else you guys got for me to look at? We got David, Ryan, Brian. That's 3. We got this one will be 4. So we'll run one more after this one, and then we'll call it a night. WM. Yeah, let's take a look at WM. WM. Yeah, nice strength out of this today. This thing looks kind of like a weekly little bottom in action down there, 196s. I kind of like this. Waste management. I like that. It's had a pretty decent rally. It needs an entry. I'm not a big fan of like buying it right here, but somewhere up over like 221s with some sort of entry in there, I kind of like that. I mean, like I said, it's gone a little bit too far, too fast type of approach here, but certainly one of the stronger names on the board at the moment. I did. I dropped it right in there. I dropped it right in the chat. I'll drop it one more time. Here we go. Drop it like it's hot. You can't join with WAP? Why not? Shoot me a DM on Instagram and we'll talk about it. It's not open in your country. All right, yeah. Just shoot me a DM on Instagram and we'll talk about it. Cause I mean they manage the whole like Discord thing. All right, let's I picked 3 so far. We're about to pick the 4th right now. What's up, ZB? All right, let us pick a winner. Drum roll, please. I need some sound effects. What's up, Brett? Congrats, my guy. Oh, Brett Franklin in the house. You in the house? I'm going to wait like 2 seconds before I try to set this timer because every single time. Let me see if he's in the chat. Oh, Brett Franklin. Let's go ahead and set our timer. Set a timer for 4 minutes. Brett Franklin. Everybody tag him. I know, right? I feel like your parents missed a great opportunity. I mean, I like the name Brett as well, but like if I had the last name Franklin. Right? Sweet. What's up, dude? Congrats. Congrats, my guy. Shoot me a DM on a Discord. Shoot me that DM on Discord. We'll get you set up. Awesome. All right. Waste management. Someone also said AMD, by the way. I think AMD is going to try and fill this gap. I think AMD is going to try and fill this gap. Yeah, I see you, Brett. Shoot me a DM on Discord, or you can shoot it to me on Instagram if you're not in the Discord for some reason. I'll drop that link one more time here for the free Discord. And then, so for those of you that aren't in the Discord, click that link. And then also, go ahead and drop this top 1 link as well. And then, all right, let's fire it up. You guys ready for one last giveaway? You guys ready for a giveaway? Yeah, Snipe typing them up for me. I didn't even drop it yet. Y'all already typing exclamation raffle. I didn't say to do it just yet. I did not say go. All right. You know, like when you're watching a kid at like practice, like basketball or soccer or whatever, and the coach is like, "Hey, we're gonna do this," and then he like literally stops talking for 0.205 of a second, and then all the kids take off running to do the thing that he said, even though he didn't say go yet. It still applies when we're adults, apparently. All right, we'll fire it off. Now, you guys may do exclamation raffle in the chat. Exclamation raffle. All right, let's take a look here. Oh shit, that scared me. Sweet. By the way, if you already won, don't enter again. Yeah, that's what I was looking for, some tickers just now. So BA to the downside, let's take a look at that. Yeah, I agree. I mean, unfortunately, I think BA's got a lot of room to go here still. I was slightly interested in longs a little bit ago in there, but yeah, I think it's kind of lost it. I think it's lost it. Let's see, AFRM. Let's take a look at that. Yeah, AFRM. This one's teetering on a big move to the downside as well. I mean, we kind of came off this $100 area up in here back in August, and we've essentially just been in a pretty steady downtrend from there. I think there's a good buying opportunity here relatively soon on a number of different names. And Meta being one of those. So this is one in which I've been stalking here. I'm just patiently waiting. I would like to see it come down a little bit further. I think there's the potential we kind of get, down here towards, 538s or so, maybe even a little bit lower from there. So I'm just kind of trying to bide my time and, see if we can't start continuing this pullback. 578's kind of in here. We're almost there. We probably trade it tomorrow. Maybe we get a little bit of if we do get a little bit of a reprieve bounce tomorrow, maybe we try and close at like 600 for the overall OPEX type of approach here. But yeah, I think Meta still goes lower. But it is one that I would like to buy at some point in the down move here for Meta. It is one that I'm interested in. Yeah, the problem is like there's a number of these names that have just like they've been slowly making their way down, and it's just like we got this gap down. If we look at a daily chart in here, it's like we got this gap down on earnings, and we've just essentially continued that trend down, over the last couple weeks now, and there really hasn't been like too much in the way of like any kind of strength with that, and there's also not too much in the way of really any good entries for continuation of the downside. Like it's been just steady, consistent selling pressure. So I think it makes it a little bit tougher. Yeah, multi-time frame analysis. To the question of what time frame do we trade, I look at all time frames. I've got a weekly chart over here. My main grid, as I call it, a 5 grid, which is what all mentorship students get access to, is daily, hourly, 15, 5-minute, all the way down into a 2. How's my November? My November is pretty solid. Again, today I've been showing that one, and I'm basically taking the same exact trades in that account as I'm taking in my other accounts and stuff as well. So today was the first red day, which I was down $29. So we can review some trades from today actually, if you guys want. The 2 trades in which we had here. Well, it was technically more than 2 trades, but this will load. Hello. We traded to the long side today, so when we come in here, we'll go ahead and turn this extended session off just so we can see the opening print here. But yeah, so I had a couple different entries today, and essentially my main goal was I wanted to put a position on in the Dow and try and trade the NASDAQ in and around that. So we had this 149.75 level in place, which was really important. And we came down this morning, and if you guys want to check this out, the full video is still posted on the channel from this morning's action. But so we came down this morning and we traded, 151 quarters and a little bit of a front run of that level. So I was waiting and being super, super patient for that to come back down and test. And at the same time that was taking place, we had this 61, holy slowness. Y'all got 3 minutes, by the way, 3 minutes and 45 seconds to get entered to win their exclamation raffle. But yeah, so at the same time, we had this 67, 61 level in place for the S&Ps, and we had 6,800s as a target above. So we had tested this initially off of the open, to whereas the NASDAQ had not traded at 149s just yet. And then if you notice right here, we managed to hold these lows, obviously, right? Like this pullback in through here. We managed to hold the lows of the morning, pretty much all the way up until like 11 o'clock, right? So keep that thought process in mind, keep that chart in mind. And while this slow chart decides to switch over, when we fast forward that over into the NASDAQ, you can see we come down and we do get that 149.75s. And when we did that, we created a little bit of a divergence there. So once we had that divergence in place, then I waited for us to get back over opening print, and then I bought the pullback into opening print. Now, it pulled back a little further than I expected. I mean, we took about 40 points worth of heat on this, which was a pretty decent move. Now, again, in the account that I'm showing and that I've been kind of tracking the P&L and posting up on Instagram and stuff, I used micros with this in the NASDAQ. So the risk wasn't necessarily as much. Like I didn't have a, $800 swing in this, with a 40-point move, right? I was using the micros in here, and the main reason for that was because, one, yes, it is a smaller quote-unquote account. It's an instant funded account. But at the same time, I also then had a position going from right around 46,800s in the Dow. And you can actually see if we pop this on, you guys can see this here. So I had a position running in the Dow. My entries was right in here around 46,800s. My stop loss was 46,750. So I had about 50 points worth of risk in here, which was, and this was I had a full size contract in here in that account, which would have been, about a $250 risk in that position. But my target was all the way up in here at 47,234. So if that hits, I'm picking up 430 points, on that position, right? So I'm picking up $2,150 worth of gain in the Dow for my $250 worth of risk. So this was the trade in which I was really looking for it to work. Now, ultimately, what ends up happening in here, and I say that to say is I was trading them both together, right? I had this kind of idea where I could scalp in and out of the NASDAQ and use that Dow position as kind of my longer term core position on the day, right? What ends up happening is we get a nice rally here. We trade up into 892s here. We kind of pull back in here, and the raffle to enter, just exclamation raffle in the chat. You got 26 seconds to go. So we end up taking a stop on this, or a break even, I should say. We end up trailing this out at break even, right? We held through this pullback. We rallied up. We got up into 48 or 46,900s. We had about 2 R's in this, right? Again, entries at 46,800s, and we were risking about 50 points, right? So we had about 2 Rs in this, but I was looking for like another 300 points worth of movement, right, to go ahead and get up to those targets. So there was like another 6 Rs on the board. So we ended up trailing this out at break even on this move down over in here. So I think we lost like 3 ticks actually. So essentially break even, right? And then we ended up waiting a little bit here. We had kind of come down. We started to rally back up. And this little 2-minute 1, 2, 3, I ended up taking this to the long side. And I traded it with smaller size. I ended up using a couple micros on this one just because the size, where we were on the charts, all the things. I wasn't as happy with everything that was kind of shaping up. And the risk was a little bit larger on that, but the parameters were still fine. So I ended up scaling into, instead of using a full-size contract, I went ahead and dropped it down and used a bunch of micro contracts on this to try and capture this move, right? So in the event it doesn't work out right, we rally up, we pull back, and we ended up taking basically a break even on this one as well, which was kind of unfortunate. So those were my trades in the Dow, and then of course it, essentially just died from there, and we didn't do anything with it. And then in the Nasdaq, we ended up essentially being able to scalp out a couple points here in the Nasdaq on this first little trade that we took over in here off of 214s, the opening print. We took a little bit off, basically right up into new highs like 249s, 250s. And then the rest we allowed to come back and trail at break even. So, yeah. So overall, again, I mean, I'm down $29 on the day. Again, half of that came from losing 3 ticks in the Dow on that. And the same trades I'm taking in there, I'm taking obviously in my other accounts and stuff as well. Maybe I'm off by a tick or two from entries and things like that, but it's not a big deal. But yeah, so completely missed the entire move to the downside. I was more interested in the long term, the longs, and then by the time we started losing this, we really never gave an entry that I was happy with. So I kept my risk in check. I didn't do anything stupid. I took the trades in which, we were up, right? We were up 2 Rs at one point, right? So that account was, we were up, in that one like $500, $600 with the Nasdaq trade and stuff in there as well. And we were looking for much more, right? So it is what it is. We live to fight another day. But with that being said, let's go ahead and pick ourselves a winner. Hey, let's go, Ryan Bowser. Let's go, my guy. This is my #1 fan right here. Ryan Bowser is the #1 fan on Facebook. And again, these are some white-ass names. We got David, Ryan, Brian, another Ryan, Brett, Franklin. That's funny. What'd you send? Let me see. Did I miss a comment? Did I miss a comment? Something? Sweet guy. Congratulations, Ryan. Shoot me a DM on Discord though, and we'll get you set up for sure. Yeah, Cletus should have won. Yeah, we need a little bit more. We need a little more Southern names in there. Miguel was the first. We're gonna hook Miguel up with something as well. When am I going to do another mentorship? So the mentorship is actually completely pre-recorded now. So what I've done, if you haven't checked it out and you're in the mentorship, you should. Every single recording from all 10 of the live classes is available inside WAP now. So there's like a total of like 350 hours worth of content in there. And then I actually took what I think was my best mentorship, and I broke it down into little bite-sized pieces of each slideshow and the trade reviews and different things like that. But if you haven't gone through and watched the morning write-up reviews and all of that from each class, there's like 118 days basically where we review the morning write-up, we review the action that took place from that day, and then we break down the why, the how, the what of all those things, you know, why it was I was thinking this, why I wrote this, all of those things. So, I mean, there's a legitimately, and it's all across a couple different market conditions. Some are during earnings season, some are not. So you get to see a really broad kind of spectrum of market activity in different markets, right? A couple different markets we were in downtrends, a couple markets we were in, you know, uptrends, obviously, or a couple mentorships. So if you haven't done that, there's a solid like 45 minutes to an hour, give or take, at the beginning of each of those classes that you should go back and watch, because it's just like a full deep dive on the morning write-up. Here's my plan, here's the levels, here's what I was looking for, and then here's what ultimately ended up happening. And then I break down, I take it back one more step, and I break down why I thought that coming into the day. So yeah, it's really, really good. Yeah, if your friend wants to join, it's that's ready to go now. It is ready to go. My free chat needs GIFs and memes. Yeah, I need to give permissions in there. You haven't been in there for a minute though. You ain't popped in and chatted with us for a while. I kind of blame that on you. As a riveter, you should have gotten one. That's true. That's true. Solid live. Appreciate that, Zach. Appreciate that. What do you guys think? You guys enjoyed it? Should we run these back a little bit more often? You think my hat's the wrong color? I got a bunch of different hats I can put on. Yeah, full port Friday stream. Holy shit. Yeah, so for all of you that are listening, I'm gonna go live again tomorrow, tomorrow morning, and we'll run it back and we'll see what this market wants to do. So I'll trade live on YouTube tomorrow, and for those of you that want free accounts, hopefully they can get those set up for you first thing in the morning. I'm gonna drop those over to my guy now. I'll make sure I do all that stuff before I leave the desk tonight, so that they can get cracking on that stuff for you. And yeah, run it back up. I'm enjoying the lives, honestly. Yeah, appreciate that, Raylene. For those of you that don't know, I'm live every day inside the Discord. If I'm not live on YouTube for free for you guys, I'm live inside the Discord as well. But yeah, let me drop that link one more time for those of you that aren't in the Discord to get in the free Discord. And then from there, once you're in the free Discord, you can figure out if you want to join the paid or not, or mentorship, whatever the case is. Or just hang out in the free with Shadow, exchanging GIFs and memes. That's also all fine and dandy as well. And then I'll drop the top one link one more time for you guys as well. When is the last time you tilted? You're always calm. I don't even know, to be honest. I genuinely don't know. I did walk away. Was that today? Yesterday. Yesterday. Yeah. I walked away yesterday just for a little bit. I didn't necessarily tilt, but I really, really wanted the pullback, and we kind of went right through it. So it ended up being, no, was it yesterday? Yeah, it was yesterday. Um, we just this pullback over in here. Oh, it's behind my face. Can't see it. This right in through here. So we had that big NASDAQ move, right? This was holy slow charts. This was that day that we had yesterday, the 300-point ripper, just like straight off. I mean, we traded 24 600s basically up to 2500s, like 350-point move, like right away. It was in the first like 40, 50 minutes of the day. And I really, really wanted the pullback in here. And I really, really wanted to just put orders and long. We had a level somewhere down in here. And I really wanted to just long it. We had levels in the S&Ps. So I felt myself pressing or wanting to press a little bit too much on that idea. And so I ended up just walking away for a little bit. And, we had a really like kind of picture perfect idea of a setup, which is where the S&Ps would pull back into the level in which they had. The Dow would essentially come down here and kind of poke through these lows. There was a level down in here somewhere like 0.84s or something like that, if I remember right. And so I kind of had this like full game plan in place, and I really liked it a little bit too much, and I could feel myself wanting to press that and potentially that leading to some type of tilt situation or whatever the case is. So yeah, I just got up and walked away for, I don't know, probably like 10 minutes, 12 minutes maybe, if that. And then came back and we had broken through the support level I was looking for. The Dow, it did end up making new lows, but we didn't get any bounce from that, right? So it was a good avoid on my part. That's probably the closest that I would get to a tilt. But yeah, I did like do some weird like little trades in some eval stuff last week just to try and get it. Like I was like $54 away from passing. So I did some like random ass scalps, but I don't necessarily count that just because it was evals. But yeah, I try not to. It's not typically advised. The idea is not to do those, not to have those moments. So, but yeah, I'm not necessarily immune to them by any means. Certainly better at recognizing them at this point, though. All right, Shadow. Well, I appreciate you guys. We did go over a little bit on the hour idea, so apologies on that. But it was fun. I enjoyed it. And like I said, I'll get those accounts and stuff sent over for those of you that won. And yeah, we'll run it back another time. Hopefully they'll get those set up by morning for everybody. But yeah, if you're still on, I'll see you guys in the morning. Like, comment, subscribe, all those fun things here on YouTube if you haven't done so already. And I appreciate you guys. So have a great rest of y'all's evening, and I will see you tomorrow.